And that site-specific module will say, what's the mobile reception look like? What's the laundry situation? Do you have to do your own laundry? Is it done for you? All these little questions. So we'll personalise that to the site. And then in conjunction with that, we'll also have some virtual tours available. That way, before you actually get on site, you know what your dong is going to look like. You know where the mess hall is. You know what that looks like. And it's not just so you know what it looks like. It means that your family members and significant others have context on what life is really like for you as the worker.
And that is freaking huge.
You know, I'm a FIFO wife. Who the hell am I to help tell FIFO workers how to all of a sudden start working on sites? Well, I'm not the person, but I've collaborated with some really awesome people, and that's because I grew a set and just put myself out there and just started talking to people.
My name is Mad Mumsy, and I have been driving the huge dump trucks in Australian open-cut mines for over 10 years now. I wish I had $1 for everyone who said to me, "How does a little thing like you drive those big trucks? You must be rich. Oh, how do I get a job doing that?" My mining friends are asked these questions all the time too. This is what started the Mad Mumsy journey to share stories and tips from living a mining lifestyle and to let others know what it's really like. Not everyone is cut out to be a miner, but why not? What does it take to thrive and survive in this industry?
Welcome to the Beers with a Miner podcast. I am Mad Mumsy, and this is another happy hour episode, number 43. Now let's dig in. Get it? Dig? Mining? Oh, crack me up. Today I'm chatting with Renee Coman. Last year I was excited to discover another Australian podcast related to mining. Although different to Beers with a Miner, it was more focused on partners at home, juggling FIFO. After 18 episodes, the podcast seemed to stop. I wondered why. It's not as easy as people may think, and I've spoken about pod fading before because I came close. Then I started noticing Renee popping up again on social media, and through a few other connections, I realised she's really moving and shaking. I won't spoil the story for you. Let's unfold it together. And welcome to the podcast, Renee.
Hello.
It's really good that we finally get to do this. We were going to do it when you had your podcast, but you've been doing other things. So
I have been. Look, it's been amazing. It was funny. I had, the Facebook anniversaries come up with certain things, and I had the anniversary for launching the first episode in December and the 1 year anniversary. And I was like, wow, what has transpired over the last 12 months has been nothing short of amazing. So, really glad that we're finally having this conversation.
Yes, it's awesome. And it's so good to interview someone who firstly knows what a podcast is. And you're definitely the first podcaster I've ever interviewed. Wow, history is Yeah, but we still had our tech issues anyway, so...
I know, oh my goodness, yes.
We are sorted. As this podcast is called the Beers with a Miner podcast, I like to start these happy hour episodes with my guests sharing their favourite beverage and also their favourite time to enjoy it. It could be beer, wine, spirit, or perhaps even a cup of tea. What is yours, Renee?
So at the moment, my favourite drop is Brookvale ginger beer. It's actually brewed by 4 Pints. It just goes down a treat. I am totally obsessed with it. Having said that, I don't have any at the moment. So right now I'm having my next backup, which is just a good IPA, and this one's by Goose Island. It's a new one my hubby got, so he'll get home soon and he'll be like, "You're drinking my beers, what are you doing?" But that's my choice for today. As of when during the day, I think it really depends what's going on. If I'm at home just with the kids, if I'm camping, or it's just a normal working day, it could be any time of the day, to be honest.
And do you drink wine at all, like with dinner, or do you just drink beer and that's all? Because I haven't met many people like that on this show.
Yeah, look, I do really enjoy wine as well. It's more to do with, I think, the occasion and just how I'm feeling at the time. I tend to have all of my options covered here at home. I've got my gin, which is my choice for spirits. Then I have, my white wine. I've got my red wine. And then I've got my beer as well. So, yeah, I'm covered.
And with your gin, how do you have it?
Pretty much. I love it with like ginger ale. That's always good. There's a couple of ways I like it, but I mean, you're pretty easy if you're just having tonic water as well. Gin and tonic's pretty easy.
So you like craft beer more than what I would call real beer? Controversy, right?
There we go. That's an interesting conversation.
Well, because I like beer that tastes like beer, and I've noticed that a lot of people who drink the craft beers like it because it doesn't taste like beer.
I just love beer. Having said that, my husband and I, one of our big things we would love to do is have a bit of a hobby farm, and I, in a heartbeat, would move to Tasmania and start growing hops. And have that as our farm, just to grow the hops for all the beers. That I'd be in heaven. I'd be pretty happy with that.
Perfect guest on my show. This should be the intro. Someone who wants to have a beer farm.
Aspiring hops farmer.
Oh, that's perfect. And when you drink red wine, this is another controversial conversation. Do you put ice blocks in your red wine, or do you have it cold, or do you have it room temperature?
Room temperature? Who puts ice blocks in red wine? Oh, my God.
Room temperature isn't meant to be 33 degrees and 85% humidity.
No. That's a fair point. How much does that impact, like, if you're not storing the wine? You know what I mean? Like how you can, how much does that affect the actual wine before you've even opened it?
Probably a lot. That's why you have to drink it fast. Dear, no, that's fun. Yeah, well, my mum, she has her red wine in the fridge, so it's cold, but I have mine out in the wine rack because it looks good in my kitchen. And then I put ice in it. But I've started putting it in the fridge, but I still have got the habit of putting ice in it. And we've had big conversations, it's sacrilege and all that. But we live in tropical North Queensland. We're not in England where it's their room temperature is like you're in a fridge here. So, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Having said that, over the Christmas break, I did get a bottle of wine. I put it in the fridge, pulled it out, and I didn't realise it was actually it was a Pinot Noir, but it was a red. And I poured it and I was like, uh-oh, and I just drank it anyway, and it wasn't that bad. So I did have a chilled red accidentally recently.
Chilled red. I like the sound of that, a chilled red. Yeah, you got to step out of your comfort zone, girl.
Going to disrupt any way possible.
Mad Mumsy will make you disrupt. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get stuck into your story other than the alcohol conversation. The podcast was called Juggling FIFO. And you obviously saw a need, as I did, to talk about the industry and what's going on and what people don't understand, don't realise what it's like, and how to start to be able to deal with it and handle it and thrive and survive within the industry. So how are you connected to the FIFO industry?
It's been 4 years now since my husband first accepted a fly-in, fly-out job, and that was based in Gladstone, Curtis Island. We didn't know what we were kind of getting in, like what we were in for. We had an idea, and that's because my best friend, her partner was also doing it at the same time. And we were really lucky, to be honest, that we had them because they just gave us so much practical advice. You talk to people when they first take the job and they're like, do I pack a pillow? Do I need to worry about, like, you just don't know what to take. So our mate, he said, have a wireless router, have this, that way, you can connect all your devices wirelessly in your room, etc. And it was all those little things that made it a lot easier because had we have not been able to physically see him on a video call every night, and when I say we, I'm referring to myself and my two daughters, and if we couldn't see him.
How old were your kids when you first started?
Crikey. Maybe my youngest was 4, maybe 5. And then my eldest, she would have been about 8 because they're 12 and almost 9 now. So, yeah. But, had we not have been able to see him every day, oh, my God, I don't think we could have got through it very long at all. So that's how I kind of started. Having said that, my dad was fly in, fly out when I was younger. He was working in Guinea for like 3 months at a time and that kind of stuff. So I knew a little bit about it from when I was a child, but my parents were separated, so it was pretty common for me not to really see him, for long periods at a time anyway.
So how did the kids hack it when he first left?
Yeah, it's funny because I was actually talking to someone about some of these things yesterday, so it's kind of a bit fresh in my mind. But look, when we started, out of the 3 of us, between the 2 girls and myself, I was probably the one that was more batshit scared, to be honest. And that's because I just have this phobia of someone breaking into my house. And that's just based on that actually happening in the past, having a house intruder. So I was really scared of that. I have no problems, with hubby going out to the pub and having beers with the boys, but I couldn't sleep until he was home because any little noise outside, I would be scared. So that was probably the biggest adjustment, just having to actually fall asleep without him here in the house to protect us, just from a psychology kind of standpoint. As for the girls, they really just feed on my energy in general. So I just had to emphasize, Dad's away, but we're going to see him tonight. And when we talk to him, we're going to do this. And you've just got to, they feed on you. So I had to really show them that I was being strong, and that's what helped really get them through. We also made sure, so my youngest was going through and starting to do her school readers and what have you. So yeah, just prior to him leaving, we made sure that we had 2 copies of a lot of our favourite children's books, and that enabled him to still read a book to her every night because he would have a copy and she'd have a copy, and they could look at the same imagery and ask questions and, question and talk about different characters within the book and, kind of make predictions about what's happening next. So it was all those little things that made the transition a lot easier for both of them. He still felt like he was still being a good dad and was, being the provider, and that's, obviously what getting the lifestyle provides for a lot of people. It allows a little bit of extra income, and, if you're someone who really wants to be you can be a good provider without it, but enables a lot more opportunities. So for him, that was a massive, massive attraction to going into the lifestyle, but still the opportunity to read a book to his girls every night was an extra win.
That's really good, isn't it? It's a way that technology can really help. People poo-poo social media and stuff, but if you can FaceTime, or how did you do it? Was it FaceTime?
Look, we did FaceTime, but having said that, if it wasn't FaceTime, it would have been Skype or some other video conferencing platform anyway.
That's it. There's so many now.
Absolutely.
You could Zoom and record it and then watch it when they're old and play it at their 21st.
You could.
What roster was he on?
So he initially started on 4 on 1. A lot of people say 4 weeks on, 4 weeks. 1 week off. Yeah. A lot of people just go, oh, my God, that's the worst. And I'm kind of glad.
That's what I say, fuck that.
I'm kind of glad that that's all we know. So he's now on his 2nd project. He's over at Wheatstone on the Pilbara, in the Pilbara at the moment, and he's doing 4 on 1 there as well. So we don't know anything different. So we're fortunate in that respect.
That would be different for him, though, because there's a lot more travel time getting to Wheatstone than Gladstone. Because for those that don't know, could you just, if you want to, share where you're based?
I am based on the amazing Sunshine Coast, which is 1 hour north of Brisbane on the coastline. Oh, look, it's really funny. I talk to people and, yeah, I'm fourth generation of my family to live here on the sunny coast, which you don't get that a lot. You know, we've got the whole typical street named after the family and all that kind of history. And a lot of people move to the Sunshine Coast, but you don't get true locals. But look, it's great, but I'm just sick of the heat, to be honest.
Oh, you should come up here and see.
I legit get nosebleeds. And
oh, really?
I've fainted a few times at 40 degrees. So I'm not just a whinger, like my body physically has, like just nosebleeds. Oh, there's nothing worse than sniffing blood. Oh, it's disgusting. Hence Tassie is very attractive. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes. And the beer farm or the hops farm. I'm just seeing beer. I'm not seeing hops. I'm just seeing beer.
On the days, you know, Ben's either flying in or flying out. If he's going back to site, he'll catch a shuttle bus from home to the airport. You know, generally speaking, with that being door to door, it's probably about an hour and a half. Wait at the airport, fly to Perth, get to Perth, just change terminals. I think he has to catch like a bus to get to another site or something like that. And then waits a few hours, catch his flight to site, and then that's about another 2.5 hour flight. So it's a long day. And then, when you're only home for 1 week, you know, the fact that you're doing that, you know, it's the end of a swing. We'll fly back on the Tuesday, get home Wednesday morning, and then do the same thing 6 days later.
Yeah. So it's basically 5 full days off, 2 days travel.
That's right.
Well, that segues nicely into, in our industry, we talk about FIFO all the time. They have the FIFO inquiry and, you know, it's like an umbrella term for people that work away, kind of. In my mind. And do you consider DIDO and BIBO the same thing, like drive in, drive out, bus in, bus out? I know there's like it doesn't take as long, although some people I know drive 9 hours, but you're still away. You've still got the same issues pretty much, but we can't say hashtag FIFO DIDO BIBO. We'd use all our Twitter characters.
Oh, my goodness, yes. Look, I most definitely consider all of them to fit under the same umbrella. It's funny when you go and you talk and, oh, yeah, my husband is FIFO. They're like, oh, so he in the mines. I'm like, no, because it's not. I think generally speaking, a lot of people in society just assume FIFO is mining, and it's actually a lot of it is construction. A lot of people don't realise that there's the construction of all these gas pipelines and everything going on there. So I find there's a bit of misconception sometimes in just what FIFO is, that it's not just mining, it's fly in, fly out. And it was funny doing the podcast, I didn't realise, but I was getting quite a few followers in the aviation industry because they are pilots and, you know, cabin crew who are also fly in, fly out, which I never thought of or even kind of considered, but they very much face the same challenges as well.
And they really are fly in, fly out, aren't they?
Quite,
more than anyone ever. So that's what your husband is. He's in construction.
Yeah. So he's an electrician.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, Sparky. Yeah. So and on what part of, because it's still all the resources industry, kind of. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So, because it's gas being a natural resource. So, yeah, he's on. So he's at Wheatstone at the moment, helping with the construction of one of the trains there. You know, it's kind of wrapping up now in Wheatstone, but yes, he's always been construction. And prior to that, he was actually working for a local power supply company as well. You know, just helping with power lines and that kind of work as well.
But it still really helps, and which is why I have you on the podcast, because it beers with a miner, but construction is a big part of mining. You know, I went into the mess the other day. Like, what the fuck? Where are all these people in here? I had to line up out the door to get my dinner, and I said to one, you know, I usually say good day, that's how I roll. And I said to the guy, well, what are you doing here? You're on a shutdown, and our wash plant was on a shutdown. And so there's 100 easy at that time came in, and so they just come in. He goes, yeah, we're the ones that come here and annoy everyone, and then we piss off. And I said, not annoying me. I got all night, you know. I don't know what I said.
Yeah.
Tried to make it nice and light. But they're classic. That's a classic. So as miners, because like I say, Beers with a Miner podcast, but as miners, there are still a lot of people that are involved in mining that are construction or that are doing shutdowns. Or even the people running the camps and cleaning the crib huts and all of that, which is a huge part of what I do, what I talk about. It's not just you have to be a miner or you're not allowed on the podcast, you know. It's
a life cycle. Really, you know, in order to get essentially what's being mined to being ultimately used by a consumer, there's so many people that are part of that process. Which, I guess the construction, whether that's the shutdown and the wrapping up of an area or, you know, pre-mining. So
exactly, starting it up. And they've got to deal with all the protesters chaining themselves to the train lines, but we won't even go there.
Yeah.
I am in central Queensland, #Adani. Actually, I'll just touch on this and then we'll move on, but I have an episode and I'll leave a link to that in the show notes, which will be madmumsy.com/beers43, the number 43. And it's an episode all about what makes a real miner. And my partner is an underground miner, and we were sitting, and he thinks he's a real miner, you know. And now that I know more about underground, I'm like, I kind of give you that. But we were sitting in bed having our morning cuppa, and sunrise was on, and there was a guy on there, and it was a miner, and I can't even remember what his story was, but it was about a miner, and we're like, oh, this is it. Well, what's this? And it was a chef in the camp. Well, the real miner, my partner, he went off. He's not fucking, that's not a miner, he's a fucking chef. He just feeds miners.
Bullshit, get him off.
And he went on, and so I wrote an article for Shift Miner magazine about it, and then I ended up doing a podcast about it. And it's the same thing, you know, like I think it's anyone who contributes to the whole part of it. Is the people in the office, it's people at the camp, it's this, but no, the real miner doesn't agree. I made a T-shirt on Spreadshirt and it says real miner, noun, any person who works underground. I gave it to him for Christmas. Oh, but I think he only wears it when he visits me. I don't know if he's actually worn it to work. Oh my God. And then I made another one for me, and it was real miner, noun, anyone who works in a mine, you know, anyone. So that was just off on a little tangent there. Your husband goes and works away for the first time. You've worked on some strategies. Lucky you had a mate who was doing it, so they told you about a couple of things, and you did the online hookups and stuff, and that's got you through. What from that then made you think, oh, I'll do a podcast about it? How did that transition?
So the podcast actually kicked off when my partner started his second FIFO role, and that was more because I knew the first time around wasn't the greatest, and if I kind of maybe did things a little bit differently, it might be a bit easier on me and it might be a bit easier on the girls. So, and part of that was really about expanding my support network at home. I struggle talking to just even my siblings about the challenges I was facing at home, and you know, it's again another myth within the lifestyle, but you're on big money, you can pay for this and you can pay for that, and it's like, well, there's no point doing it if I'm just going to piss it up against the wall. So just getting babysitters. I couldn't just call anyone at a time to get a babysitter, and all those little things you face when you're kind of a single married mum is what I'd call myself. I was living the life of a single woman, but I was still married. So, you can't just drop off the kids to the ex or whatever and go out and do things on the weekend like you traditionally would, if you were living life as a single mum. But anyway, I pushed myself to just go out and meet new people, and I thought, I'm just going to start a podcast. Well, it's a way of actually documenting and sharing ideas outside of Facebook groups. I found there was so many Facebook groups, and look, to a point they do add value. To other points, they can get nasty.
They sure can.
Crazy.
They sure can.
Oh,
they get nuts.
Things get blown out of proportion, and there's just not enough context. And I think that's the word context is what has been driving me to do a lot of things that I've been doing over the last 12 months. The whole idea about doing the podcast was to provide context for the workers away, what life is actually like for the partner at home, but also for the partners at home to have context of what it's like to actually be living on site. I'd talk to many, let's just say, female partners, to women, and they would get on these Facebook groups and would be pissed off that their partner's out having beers. And it's like, you know what? They're not, it's not like they're home every night going to the pub and they're on the piss. They're going to where they go to socialize. It's not, it's nothing more than that. Like, that's where they go to socialize outside of work. And it's trying to really get them to understand if they want, they're a human being, they need social interaction. So that's where they go for that. It's quite an understandable thing. So just little things like that. And that's where the podcast really, really started, was just talking about what life is like for different people, sharing tips on how they, handle fly out day and all those kind of things, and the emotions that go with that, and why they got into it. And then also talking to a number of different people within the industry that help support people along the way as well.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed listening to it. And oh my God, I was so freaking excited that there was someone else talking about it as well. And from a different angle, because I know, especially with podcasting, you find one that's an interest that you like or whatever, and then you go, oh, what else is there about it? So it's good to have more than one, and not just Mad Mumsy rabbiting on, but and a lot of my guests were probably going to be along that line. And whereas I wanted my podcast to be, well, you're making it up as you're going along. When you're doing a podcast, it can evolve and it can do whatever. But I thought, that's awesome. Juggling FIFO can talk more about that, and I can interview the old cranky dozer driver and the this and the that. At the time, that's what I was thinking, and I'm thinking that's awesome. And I've certainly interviewed a few people about families at home, like Kirsty O'Callaghan. We did 2 episodes and stuff. I know that you know her. I'll leave a link in the show notes, madmumsy.com/beers43. But I just need to ask before we move on, with your podcast, did you have people ask you, so how are you making money out of it?
Oh, yeah. Look, I had people that would just thought, why the fuck would you do that? Like, my husband, he needs to work for a union, is what I tell him all the time, because he is the most typical tradie. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour.
Yeah.
That's it. Whereas me, I'm very entrepreneurial, and I will more than happily spend 5-10 hours doing something if I know that it's going to pay off later down the track. I plant a lot of seeds. I make a lot of investment in my time in other areas. And he just thought, why are you wasting your time on this? And I was like, well, look, this is great for me, just connecting with people and what have you. He was like, well, how are you making money? And I'm like, look, to start off with, it's not about making money. There is some really lucrative ways you can do podcasting and make money. I think it always just comes down to why. Why did you start doing the podcast in the first place?
Absolutely.
Who are your listeners? what do your listeners want? Like, are your listeners really going to listen to someone who's talking about this product or this service? And does it align with why you started it in the first place?
That's true. So you did 18 episodes. I believe I kept going back and going, oh, yeah, no, there's another one.
Yeah, no, I think 18. I think there was 20 in total.
Oh, okay. Or maybe there was a couple of bonuses in there. I just had a quick, before we did the interview, and it was episode 18. But if you do a bonus, it doesn't count as an episode number, and I've stuffed my whole numbering system up a couple of times with bonuses. Well, fuck the bonus. Let's just call it an episode.
Yes.
I just put them out. And one more thing about podcasting, and then I promise you that we will stop. Because I haven't interviewed a podcaster before. But were you regular? Were you every week or fortnightly? Or that's my biggest thing, is trying to be regular. And 2018, my peeps, I'm trying, you know.
Yeah, look, definitely the goal was for it to be weekly. And to be honest, that was probably part of the reason why it started wrapping up. There was a couple of aspects. When I very first started, I smashed out and pre-recorded perhaps like 6 episodes back to back on one day. And that is how you should be doing it.
Batching.
Oh,
they all say that.
Absolutely.
I haven't done that yet.
Just smash them all out. You know, you can get a month's worth of content easily done in half a day. I mean, obviously that depends on the length of the episode. And I think a lot of people also think podcasting is a lot easier than what it is, because I'm sure that you're going to go through and edit all the awkward ahs and, you know, all those things, because it makes us sound shit hot and a lot more professional.
I leave a couple in, because usually towards the end, because I'm freaking over it. Did you edit your podcast as well?
Look, sometimes I actually outsourced it, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
And yeah, because it's about time, you know. I'd rather spend, you know, swing $10 US to some guy in India to quickly edit it. And, you know, now I've got more time to casually sit back and enjoy a beer.
Yeah, what I want to do is, and then we'll shut up about podcasting. But what I want to do is do the first edit, because I know where the conversation went and what parts I want to keep and what parts that I don't. But I want an editor then to go through and clean up the background noise, clean up the ums and ahs, and leave a couple in, because it's natural. That's how we are.
Or a bit more authentic. Yeah. Exactly. We're not all that polished.
No, and then put the advert in for the sponsor and do the intro and the outro, and the music has to go up and then down. And you wonder why you don't do it every week, and you work week on, week off. Come on, what are you doing, Mad Mum? Get your shit together. Now for a word from our sponsor. Welcome Julia Hartman and the Bantax Accounting Group to Team Mad Mumsy. Julia is my awesome accountant. She has written 2 books with financial expert Noel Whittaker and has a passion to help us miners make the most out of our hard-earned cash. Head to bantax.com.au/miners. That's BANTACS to download your free miners booklet and a spreadsheet that will help you calculate the weight of your tools you need for your job. Why, you ask? Well, you might be able to hitchhike a ride with them and claim your trips to work. Sounds confusing? Not at all. Just head over to bantax.com.au and let Julia and the team help you out. You will also find loads of free information and advice on property investing if you plan to really do some great things with your money. Again, that's bantax.com.au/miners, and tell them Mad Mumsy sent me. What new doors then opened? And let's dive into what you're doing now, because that's the exciting stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And look, as I mentioned, I started the podcast purely with the intent of forcing myself to connect with other people living the lifestyle, to share my tips and what I'd learned, you know, as a mother of 2 going through the process. but also hoping to get those tips from other people as well. And during that process, I started hearing the same thing over and over again, and that was, had I have known what I was getting myself in for, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I just felt so sorry when I'd hear that, because entering the fly and fly out lifestyle has just been amazing for me and my family in many ways. You know, we started it with the intent of just getting a deposit for our home, for our family home. And we did that, and I'm so grateful of that. But my relationship with my husband is so much better now because we're actually forced to communicate with each other. We're forced to communicate effectively, and we actually value the time we have together as a couple and the time we have together as a family. So I'm really, really appreciative of the opportunity I've had. And it was when I started hearing that over and over again, the entrepreneurial spark within me, you know, come alive. And I just went, this is bullshit that I keep hearing this. It doesn't have to be this way. I know all these amazing people and these resources available. I need to find a way that I can connect people entering the lifestyle with these people. So that's really where the idea of providing essentially a family induction program for families entering the fly and fly out lifestyle came about. So after a number of months of working with people and, you know, refining kind of the different pain points and what that essentially looked like and the business model behind that as well, I've come together and, now have a legit company that I'm a director of. And that's called, Distance Assistance. And
I love the name.
Yeah. I spent so long working on it, and I was just like, ooh, I like this because, you know, obviously it rhymes, but I think it's, we talked before, you know, if you're FIFO, does that also include Dido? And I think essentially all of it comes down, and the most common theme is that you're divided by distance from home and work. So you're divided by distance from your family and all those things. So it's about, kind of just providing assistance with people when all of a sudden there's this great distance between you and your loved ones and home.
Is it a service? Is it software? Is it an app? Is it one-on-one? Do you go around and feed the kids and the dog? Or surely not. That's not entrepreneurial, Renee.
Look, that shit ain't scalable.
No, yes, scale and grow.
Scalable. That's it. And look, that's why I stopped the podcast, because I realised I need to be working on providing a solution that connects people at the starting point of this life cycle of the journey, and I can have such a greater impact and do that at scale by focusing on my business. And that's why the podcast have stopped, because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to have such a greater impact to so many more people by getting this off the ground sooner rather than later.
Have you thought about doing a goodbye podcast, or are you just kind of leaving it open? Because then that can then forward them through to the distance assistance. Like, hey, where's Renee gone? He's home drinking wine. Yeah.
She's rocking herself in a corner after hearing people drink red wine with ice. She's in shock.
Oh my God.
Look, I don't want to, the way I see it is juggling FIFO now is probably more to do with my personal brand and me as a FIFO wife. Yeah. I very much do want to do the podcast. I want to continue doing the podcast. Yeah. It's more, I see it on a very long-term pause, but not that's the end of it kind of thing. Yeah, and then distance assistance is more the business side of things.
I still think it might be a good idea, because like if they're like me, and it's not just I'm stalking you because we're doing the same thing or we're similar, but it's if there's people that are going, is she still there or is she not, they'll unsubscribe, delete, whatever. But if you at least put one out and say, hey, this is what's going on, I'm hoping to get back to it. But at the moment I'm kicking butt. I'm, she's going down here and got this assistance. And then they can start following you on there. And then when you eventually have that all set up and you got it sorted, then you can go back and
come back to it.
Your thing. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Two Bob's
no,
worth.
look, and look, it's funny because I did actually do a Facebook Live video because I thought, I'll just get something out and tell people. But that just gets lost in the feed.
I saw it.
Yeah.
That's how I'm like, there's Renee. Yeah, she's...
Oh, yeah.
And
she's buying.
Now, I have to go to China. Well, I don't personally because I haven't been out of Australia and I have no intention of going anyway. But I noticed on your Facebook that you're over in China. And so what was that all about? Is that got a lot to do with the doors that opened between the podcast and distance assistance where you are now?
Yeah, definitely. Look, there's a combination of things. So I called it the podcast Juggling FIFO because I was just juggling so much. I was juggling, being a full-time single married mum for 4 weeks at a time. I was at a point of my journey as well. I was juggling being the carer for my dad who is in palliative care at home. I was juggling being a full-time student, not just at one university, but at 2 universities. So I was actually doing, 6 units over one semester. So most people, a full-time workload's normally four subjects, and I was doing 6 at 2 different universities.
How do you, I don't know about universities too much, but are you allowed to go to 2? I never heard of that before.
No.
Oh, you're not? Oh,
no.
Do you want me? Do you want me to edit that shit out?
No, it's fine.
So how do you do 2?
So you cannot be enrolled simultaneously in 2 at the one university.
Into
two courses. So I just went and enrolled at a different university. Well, nothing stopped. Like I said, I'm a disruptor. I don't do shit normally. I just was juggling so much. Anyway, it was a lot of my studies was very much focused on entrepreneurship, and I did a minor at university. And this year I'm actually kicking off and doing a high degree by research at university, and might have a tutoring opportunity as well. So actually working at the university. I've been a research assistant and took that opportunity earlier in 2017. And now actually as part of the academic staff, hopefully it looks like this year in 2018. But look, I've been doing a lot of stuff on the Sunshine Coast in entrepreneurship. Obviously got my own entrepreneurial drive with my business, and pitch distance assistance and what I'm doing there to some people that were taking applications for Australians and Americans to have all expenses paid to go over to China for 2 weeks. So I was one of 20 delegates in for Australia to China, and we went to Shanghai, Beijing, and Hangzhou.
Wow.
Hangzhou is that's where Alibaba's head office is. That's where everything happens there. It's a really actual beautiful, beautiful part of China. But went over there, just went to a whole heap of different co-working spaces, met with a whole heap of different venture capitalists, pitching, for investment and all those kind of opportunities throughout the trip, which was, very, very exciting.
Oh, and did that just totally inspire you and your entrepreneurial juices to just come back and kick shit with distance assistance? Before you left, did you have that idea and that plan and that name, or did that come after China?
The concept and the business name was in place. The business model has changed a little bit since then, and that was obviously because of the experience. And there was 20 of us, 20 Australian delegates, but there was also 20 American delegates. And during the travels, and we're all staying in the same accommodation and going out and having lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the same crew every day. All these amazingly entrepreneurial minded people was just awesome. But, they'd give you feedback, and So I've kind of refined a few things since then, and I'm just so appreciative of the experience I had.
So that was like a massive ongoing mastermind with a group of like-minded. Oh my God, I'd love that. If we could just do that in Australia, thanks.
Yeah. Oh, look, just great for your mindset. Like it's just a real great Kickstarter, like I think everyone, you can have a job that you absolutely love, but every now and then you kind of lose your mojo. This, I was just like, woo! And I was just pumped the whole time, and I come back and it was sweet.
Oh. So can you talk to us some more about distance assistance? We understand now the journey of how you got to this point and your why, which is always start with why, Simon Sinek. But now the how and the what and the nuts and the bolts. What actually is it? What will it be? It's still in the forming mode, isn't it, at the moment, I believe?
Yeah, look, it's almost polished. We're just going through and polishing, a few of the edges at the moment. But yeah, it's really exciting to have gone from ideation phase to now actually having a full working prototype for organisations to essentially review and determine whether or not they feel it's a good fit for their organisation. The goal is that we will deliver the online program. So it's an online platform where employees and also their family members, so whoever their next of kin is, will receive access to the distance assistance platform. And on there's going to be a variety of different types of content. So we have like a induction program which talks about all different things and provides a realistic lifestyle preview. So it's giving people the idea of what living fly in, fly out lifestyle looks like, what it looks like from a worker's perspective, what it looks like from the family members at home, and then also tips to help, thrive and survive. So some of that has been created by like a lifestyle coach and talks about family resilience and communication, and some practical tips about setting up communication routines, emergency contingency plans, and, under what circumstances, if there's an emergency at home, what is an emergency? Is it worth calling me at work, or can it wait till tonight? Or so little prompts to have those conversations, really.
I'll just interrupt you there for a minute. Sorry, Renee, but I've had exactly that this week. I'm the worker away, and my mum lives in my house, in my other house, and the toilet's been overflowing. And I'm out at work and shit's going down. Well, actually, the shit ain't going down, So, and a lot of things that I've seen and heard and from interviews and in social media is the stuff happens when the partner is away. So that's a great point about having a contingency plan, because, shit can and does go down. And sometimes it's minor shit, and sometimes – sorry, can you tell I just called a plumber because I was over the –
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But that's where everyone needs to know, is this important enough to ring work and make me come home, or is this important enough, or can we talk about it tonight, or we'll just talk about it when I get back, but write it down so we don't forget, and stuff like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I had it, I guess from personal experience, my daughter had this really bad rash. We kept taking her to and from the hospital, and and my husband was aware of that, just kind of, oh, look, there's just a rash, what have you. It's not just a rash. Like, I'm talking, it was like blood blister hickey, but that was the rash. Like, it was like a blood rash. Yeah. Anyway, we went back and saw a GP, and the GP said, take this to the hospital. And pretty much I said, oh, what's this for? Because there was some words on there that I'd seen and doing, the Google search, Dr. Google.
And, love that. Yeah.
And yeah, so she actually had to get tested for leukemia. And
wow.
I mean, that's any parent's worst nightmare, you know. And it was just like, Ben was on site. He was at Curtis at the time, but the ferries had closed for the night. So I was like, is this worth stressing him, knowing that he can't come home? Everything is completely outside of his control right now. So is this something that I should call him for him to be sitting in his donga stressing for 5 hours? I made the decision not to tell him, and then I told him afterwards. But look, for some people, they would have just made that phone call and it would have stressed the worker out.
Because you can kind of understand that as you being the person having to deal with it, you need to talk to them about it as well. So there's that battle going on in your head, you know, and that's where a support system as well is huge. So did you have someone else that you could talk to before you spoke to him? And did he handle you not telling him straight away okay? Or did he go, why the fuck didn't you tell me? Oh, your kids are home. I better not say that word anymore.
Oh, no.
No, they can't do that. Because this is explicit on iTunes. If you want to work in the mines, you've got to get used to it.
I think that's why I'm like, I should be working in a mine site, because I swear, my children created a swear jar for me.
Oh, that's...
yeah.
You really are the perfect guest.
Yeah. But, look, I had a girlfriend. I dropped my other daughter off at her house, and then we went to the hospital. But, yeah, I didn't really have anyone to talk to, and I think that was the other thing, was the fact that I didn't have anyone. Like, I was going through a horrible experience, but because he was away, I didn't have anyone, and I was just trying to be strong because I knew that it would do more harm than good for him. And when I explained it to him, he totally got it, and he was just relieved that there wasn't an issue. But I guess with distance assistance, it's reflecting on both the experiences I've personally had, but the experiences I've had that I've heard, you know, from the podcast, from engaging with people through the Facebook groups, and all, you know, the different meetup events and the face-to-face events, etc. So, and then, of course, getting a whole heap of different amazing professionals. You know, I've got some people that are contributing content, and a lot of them have actually worked on site. They're actually coming from the perspective of the worker as well. And
that's awesome.
I'm really fortunate there that we're not just these people that are HR people saying, oh, you should consider this and you should consider that. These are coming straight from the horse's mouth. The content itself, there's so much amazing content in there, and as I mentioned, a lot of it has been created by people who have been living the lifestyle firsthand, and that was really, really important for me, to have people that have been living it firsthand, or as a dead set minimum, that they've been supporting people in the lifestyle. Probably the biggest person who's had my back from the start, and, you know, we almost chat daily, is Rachel Owendeck. So Rach has had many years experience living a lifestyle. She's worked on the rigs, you know, offshore. She's been fly in, fly out, and she's actually just starting now drive in, drive out as well. So she ticks so many of the boxes. She knows her shit. She's got some great contacts, and like I said, she's had my back from the start. She totally gets what I'm doing and the driver behind it. So we've got, you know, we've got a psychologist, we've got nutritionists, we've got different personal trainers, lifestyle coaches, coordinators, and just an array of people with different backgrounds that collectively together are really going to help families entering this lifestyle. The goal is that the end user, what the journey looks like is you'll accept a role with Organisation A. Organisation A will have an agreement with us that all their employees and their next of kin get access to the platform, and once you accept the job, you get access to the distance assistance platform, and it's there that we'll have all this practical advice. And before you get out to site, you'll have, you know, a communication routine in place with your loved ones. And it's not everyone is in a romantic relationship. Their next of kin could be their mum, it could be their siblings. So no matter what the relationship type is, the content is still appropriate for them. And we really just want to make sure that people are thriving and surviving in the lifestyle, and there's no better time than doing that when they first accept the job. So that's the journey that we're going in, and just really keen to talk to organisations about just getting this out there now.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And have you had some feedback from organisations that are keen? Because I know there's been a few FIFO inquiries, and a big part of the inquiry outcomes were about exactly what you're doing. Should there be, there needs to be more inductions. So many people that I've interviewed, they rocked up at the helicopter with, 2 suitcases almost, and they laughed and said, you can only bring your toiletries pretty much, So, and you don't get told that shit. And then where do you put your stuff?
That's it.
So
that's exactly it.
It's the common saying is it's not fucking rocket science, but they don't share it with you. You're like, one of the sites I went and I had an Optus phone back in the day. Who has Optus these days? I don't.
I don't
know anyone who has Optus, but anyway, but I got out there and I nearly had to throw my phone away. I had to go to the service station and buy a cheap, well, it wasn't that cheap, and I didn't have that much money because I just started my job there, It was about $100, I think, and it had a SIM card and that, but it was Telstra, and I could get service. And there were phone boxes there. So I was ringing up with the old school, putting the money in. You need to have more money. No, they don't even have them anymore. So it's a little thing like
carries cash these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I got the job, the labour hire company had have said to me, now, these are the things you need to know. Optus doesn't work out there. You need a Telstra phone. That's just one thing, one example. That brings me to a little comment that a comment that you made to me as we were working towards planning our interview. And you said about virtual tours. Can you talk to that? Because that freaking excited the hell out of me. I'm like, what? Really? No.
So as I mentioned, we've got some really amazing content to do with the family and communication, and even some really dead set basic financial literacy just on how to set up a budget and things to consider about minimizing your expenses. And that's core, and that's generic to wherever you work, whether it's fly in, fly out, drive in, drive out, etc. But then to complement that, we're looking at having a site-specific module. And that site-specific module will say, what's the mobile reception look like? What does, what's the laundry situation? Do you have to do your own laundry? Is it done for you? Like all these little questions. So we'll personalize that to the site. And then in conjunction with that, we'll also have some virtual tours available. So that way, before you actually get on site, you know what your dong is going to look like. You know where the mess hall is. You know what that looks like. And it's not just so you know what it looks like. But again, back to the word context, it means that your family members and significant others have context on what life is really like for you as the worker.
Mm. And that is freaking huge. I love that. I remember because we can do our own virtual tour once we're there, really, but you haven't got there yet, have you? So you don't know. I remember I was talking to my daughter on FaceTime, and I was out at a camp, and I said, I've got to go put my washing in the dryer because then I had to go to sleep and it would be all that. It's getting late. And I said, come for a walk with me, but you have to be quiet because everyone's asleep, And I walked out and I turned the camera around, swizzle it around, and I showed her. And when I got to the laundry, I said, okay, you can talk now. And I said, look at all these machines. There's like 20 machines and 20 dryers and they're all cranking and stuff. And she goes, oh, my God, Mum, it looks like a jail. And I said, no, it's no. Didn't you see the pretty palms and the, I said, I'll do it again in the daytime. But there's, 2 rows of dongers, and now that I'm somewhere else where I can see the sky and everything, it kind of was. But I was, you'd come out of your door, you'd sit on your step, you'd put on your boots, you'd look across there, and there's old mate putting on his boots, and then you were lucky if you got one or to me, because I cared about the sky, if I got one on the end, I could see the sky. So a big part of where I'm working now, I love, because the accommodation, I can see it's not like that. It's different. It's lovely. So it's a big part of it. But it was good for Mad Mumsy to experience that kind of actual camp life. It was the first time I'd done a real camp.
Yeah.
I'd lived in a town before, but in dongers and stuff, but not. Yeah, so it's helped me to understand a lot more of what my sister, Hard Hat Mentor, what she has been through for 30 years. And my mum, she used to be in the mines and everything. There's episodes about her. I'll leave links to that in the show notes, madmumsy.com/beers43. Yeah, virtual tour. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And do you think
absolutely.
Do you think companies will jump on board with that?
I can't see why not. Because
why wouldn't they?
Exactly. And this is the thing. So when I was in China, I was really fortunate. I got to talk to a different number of manufacturers that are creating the actual hardware. We've opted to go with just a Google cardboard. So we've got our own personalized distance assistance virtual tour cardboard headset. So we will essentially just have the organisation will provide us a list of either and this is the choice, again, is during the selection process, so when you're applying for the role, that they might actually make this mandatory during the selection process. How committed are you to living this lifestyle? Do a site tour, visit the site. Now, I've heard of stories, and this is why the VR was really interested me, was that I was hearing stories that people were quitting after one night or even after a week because they didn't know what they'd signed themselves up for, or their partner at home didn't know what they'd signed up for. And that's expensive for the company. And then you think about what that actually means for the family. That means someone in the family has quit potentially a full-time job, a really good local job that's hard to get.
Yeah. Finally, I'm going to be a rich miner. Oh, no, I'm not. I can't do this shit. I'm going back.
Because, either the wife is gone, get your ass home, I can't handle the kids on my own. And then all of a sudden.
Or the husband, because the wife's working.
That's right. There's a lot of women out there.
Right.
Or, or it could be that all of a sudden, with an aging population, that someone's parents need full-time care or something's happened and they have to come home, but all of a sudden they've just lost this income. They don't have a job, and that's a stressor. And, we talk a lot about mental health, but these are all stresses. And if we can actually help people know what they're getting themselves in for, and as part of the selection process, making sure that the person applying for the job is actually interviewing the company. They're actually going, is this someone I want to work for? Is this somewhere that I want to live for 4 weeks at a time? If it's not, then it's probably great that you've actually made that decision before you've committed to the job and got on site. So, really keen to actually have this as part of the selection process, but also then to help the family at home have context that, no, I'm not going to have beers with the boys or with the girls every night because I'm a pisshead. I'm going to have a beer because I need to socialise with another human being.
And I need to talk about the shit that went down today, and we'll fix it over a beer. Sometimes that happens as well. Or not necessarily over a beer, says Mad Mumsy. But it might be I'm going to play tennis, or we're going to play touch football. Up here they go and play touch footy or whatever on Sundays, our crew. I haven't quite got there yet because I'm busy. I've got stuff to do. I nearly went this week. I really did. I thought, no, I need to go, but I've been watching the cricket. I love cricket. And the BBL's been on, and you talk about connecting with your loved ones or whatever. The real miner, he was we have our texts, and then he was out at work. But I came home, and every night for 7 nights, and now my dad will be messaging me again soon when I go off aeroplane mode, we watched the BBL together. And I was in my room out at camp, and I had my one beer with my neighbour so we could catch up, because he's on a different part of the mine. So, you know, any rumours, how was your day? What did you do? Yeah, this, that. Did you get much sleep? Nah, shit, nah. Right? And then he went, watched cricket, and texted my dad. Oh, and, you know, he gets really cranky because he's getting old. Love you, Dad. But he but one thing that did happen, and I'll say this, then don't let me keep talking about cricket, but he rang me to watch the last over together, right? It was only on the phone, but we were both watching it on the telly, and he's in South Australia and I'm up here in central Queensland, and he's telling me, oh, no, LB, this, that. I'm like, what? Hang on. And there was a 2-second delay. I was getting it after. So I'm telling Dad, shut up. And then he was getting cranky. I said, he goes, this isn't working, and hung up. I'm like, okay. So we stick to text.
Yeah. Look, and I think it's funny. You talked about your love for Optus. I used to work for Telstra, and I'm I love Telstra. I'm one of those people that back them all the way.
Me too. I've got Telstra everything.
Yeah. And I loved, it was probably about 18 months ago, they started this whole new marketing campaign, and it was just talking about technology, and it was really demonstrating technology and how it's being used. And I think there's so much possibility with all these emerging technologies. VR in particular really, really excites me. And it was Samsung that actually showcased one of their new VR headsets, and they did a campaign. I'll share a link with you, particularly for any of the listeners that want to check it out. But the marketing campaign was about a FIFO worker who was on site, and he was unable to get home in time for his wife who was in labour. So they set him up with a VR headset, had live feed VR cameras in the birthing suite. Whoa. And he was actually there for his child's birth, virtually, using virtual reality. And you just think, look, virtual reality seems really crazy, but the technology is evolving so quickly. It's possible, for 2 years, 2 years' time, for a lot of homes to be having VR cameras, and you could be living away, but you could be there for your kid's birthday party in virtual reality. You can still enjoy a lot of those significant milestones.
Well, and you can still even do that, like just walking around with the iPad on FaceTime without the whole, virtual reality weird looking head thing. That'll be like, whoa.
The full Matrix experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And how funny will that be in years to come? They go, oh, remember all those people, those dickheads walking around with that shit on their head? Like walking around with a brick that was called a mobile phone, in a case. And look at those.
Oh, yes. So there's a lot of really awesome stuff that's happening, and there's quite a few things we're looking at doing, plugging into a few other emerging technologies. So chatbots being another thing, where just like having a messenger conversation, but by having a lot of data and looking at a lot of the conversations and information people are looking for, we're looking at actually turning a lot of the content we have on our platform, plugging that in the back end so people can actually have a chat with distance assistants as a person, and we can provide them that content in a conversational way as well. So
that's so up my alley. I'm so excited for you. I'm like, yeah, go. That's so good. I freaking love technology. And I saw in something that you put on Facebook about how busy you are with kids and partner and uni and travel and coding. So you're obviously into all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, total geek.
My sister calls me Sheldon, And I'd never heard of Sheldon.
Oh.
I'm like, what the fuck is who's Sheldon? And then when she showed me, he said on Big Bang Theory, and I seen him, I said, he's a weird, freaking ugly-looking scientist. Why would you call me that? And then I started watching the show, and I said, oh, no, I ain't on that. That's not me. You know, I learn things on YouTube, watch a 14-year-old boy from Yugoslavia or, I don't know, some with a different language tell me how to do something that I'm stuck on my WordPress site, and my podcast, I just love it though. I could talk to you about that forever, but we won't go into that on the podcast because we have been going long. Anything else more you wanted to say about distance assistance? We'll share the links or like where to head to shortly, but is there anything else that's coming that I don't know about?
There's so much. I could talk all day, particularly about the emerging tech. Like I would love to actually, once, I've got a bit of money with distance assistance and have conversations, I'd love to have virtual reality gaming warehouses on the sites. Have you heard about? Yeah, in Melbourne, and they're just opening one in Brisbane, there is a virtual reality gaming warehouse where you can have up to, I think it's 12 players at a time. You have virtual reality headsets on, and you can run around in a warehouse with a physical toy gun, and it's connected, and it's just like playing Xbox or PlayStation. It's a game simulation. It'll send you a notification when another player is within like 1.5 meters, so you don't run into each other, but you're physically active, you're running around, you're working up a sweat, you're gaming, and you're interacting with all your peers and that kind of stuff. So knowing that the gyms and getting into them is a bit difficult, I'd love to kind of look at offering an alternative solution, knowing that there's a lot of guys on site, or a lot of individuals on site that have their PlayStations and their Xboxes and do a bit of gaming.
Oh my, the real miner is, the real miner, he never listens, but he's a gamer for sure. Yeah. Yeah. He just sent me a message definitely. Today. He finished this morning night shift, and he messaged me today and said, oh, I've got this new game and everything. I said, I think my grandson was playing. He's got these ideas about making his own, and who's going to do that? Sheldon. Yeah, apparently. I did a whole heap of stuff for him, and then he bloody lost it on his computer. I'm like, well, I'm busy here.
Look, and I'm very much up to date and constantly looking at a lot of different evolving and emerging technologies, and that's part of being an entrepreneur and being plugged into that kind of ecosystem. But at the university, there's lots of stuff going on with serious games development. I've got quite a few friends that are doing that are writing papers on that, but also working with, ACARA, which is who sets the national curriculum in schools, and looking at ways of embedding a lot of that kind of stuff. So I'm really fortunate to have some really cool contacts and good friends actually in the space that are just doing really cool things. Wow. So I'd love to ultimately look at ways that, we could gamify different roles within mining, so then significant others at home can game and play, daddy's job or mummy's job on site and those kind of things, and kind of get excited and have, again, some more context of what site life is like, and just a whole array of different possibilities later down the track.
Oh my God, I'm so excited for you right now. That's awesome. Okay, so we might start to wrap up because we've been going long, but that's how we roll.
Yeah.
With the miners.
It's good.
That's what I love about podcasts, right? We won't go back to podcasts, but it can be as long or as short as I want. And I have had people, long story, but podcast award nominations and stuff, and it's a bit long. No, well, it's not long for my market, because a lot of the people that listen to my podcast travel shitloads, or they're driving in their truck. I got 12 hours to kill on my USB, or it's a 2-hour trip to work for me. So I haven't got, and that's one of my pet peeves, is a lot of podcasters talk about a 45-minute commute.
a lot of assumptions.
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
of assumptions.
So not me. I just, I'll cut a lot of stuff out. But that's what I love about another thing I love about podcasting is we just go. I don't want to say, right, I've asked the questions and our time is up. Unless your time, we got to go now. Bye. And I've listened to podcasts like that before, and it's like, no, you were just starting to get into it. I didn't even hear the bit, and it's all about just selling someone something, So no, that's not how Mad Mumsy rolls. Okay, I got 2 questions left. Be in mind of your time. You might have to see your kids. What do you think it takes for a woman to thrive and survive in male-dominated industries? And as a side note to that, is the startup space, which I know you're highly connected with at the moment, is that majority men? And what about when you went to China? Was it just you, the only girl?
Look, first part of the question, what do women need? Depends. Look, it's pronounced a different set of ways, but some cojones, cogones, which is a word used for female balls. Women need more balls.
Hang on a minute. How did you spell that? I've got to write that down because I just say balls.
Oh, no, there is an actual word for it. So spelling COJONES.
ONES. Oh, so I thought you were saying a big kahuna. You need someone back.
Oh,
no, you need cojones. You need balls.
Yes.
Righto, carry on.
Female balls. As growing up as a female, traditionally speaking, we're told to look pretty and to do this and look a certain way. As a boy, look at that tree, climb, go to the top. For a girl, oh, don't climb the tree, you're wearing a dress. People will see your undies. That's from such a young age, we're told not to reach for anything. We just need to get some balls and we just need to go for it no matter what. So that's what we need to really thrive and survive. In the startup space, look, it's becoming a bit more diverse when you're looking at venture capitalists, and there's been actually quite a few studies looking at the success rate for startups that have a male founder versus female founder. Males will have a much higher success rate of applying for capital and for funding compared to females. And, part of that's just growing a set, just ask for it. A lot of the time, females, we overanalyze things. Guys, just go for it. You don't think. You have to think sometimes, but we overanalyze how we're perceived, what we look like. You know what? It's all well and good to think about it, but you just got to do it sometimes. So, that's probably my biggest thing is just go for it. Grow a set, just get some confidence. People say fake it till you make it. I think you got to have that drive. As long as you got that drive, just know that that's what's driving you, and have the confidence to help fulfill that. And I guess, I'm a FIFO wife looking at offering something within, HR. I've worked in HR for corporates beforehand here in Australia, but, I'm a FIFO wife. Who the hell am I to help tell FIFO workers how to all of a sudden start working on sites? Well, I'm not the person, but I've collaborated with some really awesome people, and that's because I grew a set and just put myself out there and just started talking to people. So, bit of a long-winded answer there.
Great. That's great. And I so wanted to interrupt. I'm like, no, shut up. This is gold. That's gold. That's awesome. And I put a post on LinkedIn just before Christmas, I think, about imposter syndrome. And and I funkily threw out, I said, who am I to have done this? Who am I to do this? Who am I? It was basically my life story outline because, anyway, long story why I did it. But a comment on there from another podcaster, Phoebe Moroshek, who has a podcast called The Unbecoming, which I love. It's just like, just do your own shit, basically. But in an entrepreneurial way. And she commented and said, and I've heard this so many times, and as soon as she put it, I was like, oh, I knew that. It was like, who are you not to? And it's like who are you to tell people or help people about living a FIFO life or being a FIFO partner or whatever, well, who are you not to? Because you've been through it. So, it's people like you, and I'll put my hand up, it's people like me, and it's like my sister and heaps of other people that have been on my podcast that are out there doing it. And we got to keep doing it because there's too much shit going on. There's too many people that, that are on the ultra ends of the scale, from suicide to not giving a fuck to crashing to doing all the wrong things at work, right down to just saying the wrong thing or not contacting family. All of the levels are so far. But if people start to be aware of what can and does happen, and we all help each other through it, and the conversation like the "Are you okay?" just that in itself has been huge to start opening up, and mental health. And because I had Brendan Ma, the CEO of Are You Okay? I interviewed him, episode 19. And, people are talking about stuff now. We've had FIFO inquiries. Yeah. We've had a couple, and now the next thing here is contractor inquiries and labour hire, but we won't even go there. So, yeah.
And it's funny because of those inquiries, like I've looked into quite a few of the, this is the academic within me, and looked at the recommendations. One of the recommendations was that families receive mental health literacy. Now,
what the fuck?
Like,
sorry,
one's giving that.
I'm going to interrupt.
No one's giving that.
I'm going to interrupt because what is mental health literacy? That's what a pamphlet that says, I don't know, what? It needs to be fluff. So much more. It needs to be like what you're doing, what other people are doing. And it needs to be more than a pamphlet that you get when you get everything else with 20 other pamphlets that when you first start a job, even that wording is wrong.
Yeah, it needs to be done in a meaningful way that the everyday person can actually go, oh, yep, that makes sense, and what have you.
And
it's good.
This is how I roll. I interrupt because we're going deeper into the conversation. That's what I do. So instead of literacy, using new technology, helping people to connect, helping people to see and feel and know what to expect, what they actually are doing. And even if it's not, with your weird freaking cardboard thing on your head, but, go and take your kid for a walk around. And if she says it looks like a jail, say, yeah, well, you know what? It fucking feels like a jail sometimes, but I like to look at the sky. And I look for a bird this is how I roll. I look for a bird when I see one. Look at that bird in the pit. How dare you be here? Hi, how you going? I see the saucepan in the sky and I always wave. How's it going? All my angels are up there,
No, and it is those little things, particularly, I've been really fortunate a few times where the hubby has called me and he's been walking to the mess for dinner, and it's been right on sunset. And I'm like, holy shit, like that looks so beautiful, and how often I've never, very rarely have I been able to see a sunset, like see that over the horizon with nothing between me and the, and the horizon. And look, to some people that brings up feelings of isolation and what have you. But for some people, like, they never even see that in their lifetime. Like, it can look absolutely amazing, and being connected with Mother Nature in that respect is pretty cool as well.
And I say at least once a swing, I reckon, I say it almost makes it worth being here. It might be a sunrise, a sunset, the full moon, an eclipse, because you've done night shift and the sun's coming up, and then people go, no, we should be on a boat fishing, and everyone always says with beer.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll have a cup of tea.
You're going to have the esky full of beer when you start, and then it's empty to put all the fish in when you get back.
Yeah. And I'm not a fisher person, which is something that my crew are always talking about fish, and I'm like, fish and shooting pigs and stuff. I'm like, not my thing. I'm like, Anyway, we really better start wrapping up because
yep,
it's
too much editing for you.
No, it's all right. No, it's gold. It's gold coming right here out of the ceiling. So last question, and I need a beer. No. What is your happy place to go to unwind, reflect, and stay sane in especially your fast-paced life?
Yeah, look, for me, it is about a 10-minute drive from where I live, and that is right on at the beach, Point Cartwright, here on the Sunshine Coast at Kawana. Yeah, it's look, I've had many drunken high school days out there, but that's not why I love it. It's just such a beautiful spot. It's obviously on the beach. There's a lighthouse. And then there's a little cove as well, and you've got the mouth where all the boats and the yachts come in. So it's and there's quite a bit of bush as well. So little bush and rainforest. So you get like the best of both worlds. You get the beach, you get the lookout, then you've got the sheltered little area and all the rock pools, and then you've got this beautiful lush rainforest feel for part of it as well. So it ticks so many boxes, and that's why I love it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So in closing, is there anything else you would like to say to call this episode complete for you?
Oh, look, obviously want to thank you so much for your time in interviewing me today. It is great to always talk to another podcaster. This is the second time I've been on a podcast with another podcaster, so it's always really interesting.
What? I'm not your first. That's it. Get off the list.
No, sorry. I'm a podcast slut. No,
I'm not yet, but I need to be.
So yeah, thank you for that. For any of the listeners, guys, if any of you like the idea of what I'm doing, get in touch and just let me know. Part of it's just customer validation. We're in startup mode, and the more validation we can have that what we're doing is what people in the industry want, always welcome to hear that. If you have any ideas on content or some practical tips that you would like to, part on to others via Distance Assistance, shoot them through. We're on Facebook, Distance Assistance. You can find us there. Or if you are a decision maker on a site, or someone who is, feel free to share and let them know what we're doing as well. Ultimately, you might be able to help other people have a really awesome experience living this lifestyle and help them thrive and survive.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, so I'll leave all the links to that in the show notes, and madmumsy.com/beers43. And did you know that when you're with an iPhone anyway, when you're listening to a podcast, if you scroll down, you can see the show notes and the links are there, and you can click on the link from within the show notes app, from within the podcast app now. And, so I'll add all those links into those show notes as well as the show notes on my website. So you can be listening along, and then you can go and have a look and sign up for whatever it is. So that's awesome.
Beautiful.
Yes. Thank you so much, Renee. It's been great to have you on the podcast and to hear all of these exciting Sheldon things that you were doing. You are my Sheldon. Did you hear that, hard hat mentor? It's time to say goodbye now. We could chat all day, and I have been known to. All the links we discussed in this episode are at madmumsy.com/beers43. That's madmumsy with a Z or a Z, depending where you're from, and the number 43. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And please share with your mates. Grab their phone, find their podcast app, search for Beers with a Minor and subscribe them, just like you have. You have, haven't you? What? Also, if you know anyone looking for a job in the mines, send them my way. madmumsy.com is a great place to start their search for that dream mining job. And thank you so much for listening. Until next week. sometime, whenever I get round to it. Stay safe, be real, be special, and have fun, for we only live once. Cheers.